Welcome back, welders of the future, young and upcoming future expert industrial welders. We're going to kick off Module 9, Joint Fit Up and Alignment. On the right, you're going to see our text, and on the left, you're going to see the study guide. And I'm going to show you how these two link up. Joint Fit Up and Alignment overview. Regardless of a welder's talent and experience, a joint that is poorly fit or aligned is subject to fail. In other words, if you don't fit it up right, don't expect it to weld right. All welded joints must be properly fit according to code, specs, and industry standards. Also have to remember that there is some intense heat that happens during the welding process, and that can cause a properly fitted joint to distort and pull out of alignment due to the expansion and contraction of the welding process. So this module introduces welders to the basic tools and practices related to proper fit of both plate and pipe. This is a pipe MIG welding machine. And you can see how it's mounted. It's similar to our track torch, except it's a track welder that goes on a circle on the pipe. Pretty cool. Look at those welds. Turn the page. Here we go. All right, objectives. Identify and describe various fit up and describe weld distortion. That's section 2. We're going to cover section 1 in this video. Performance task, fit up joints using plate and pipe fit up tools. We don't have any pipe fit up tools. I'll see if I can find something. But we definitely have some plate fit up tools. Check the joint for proper fit and alignment using gauges and measuring devices. We've got all that stuff. Trade terms are right in here. You can see trade terms quiz. Let's take a peek. Edit. And there they are. Consumable insert. Tack weld. Yeah, they're all here. I think I've got it broken down into 2 different trade terms. I'm trying to make these matching a little bit shorter for you guys, so they're not down here somewhere. Trust me, it's all in there. All right, turn the page. Here we go. Oh, you know what it was? Those other trade terms were further down in section 2. Here we go. Trade terms for this section, section 1. Right here. They're going to be in here. Pause the video. Read them if you want to get to know them. Let's go on now to next page. We're looking for this question. Here we go. To avoid contamination, instruments used in fit up and prep of a joint must be compatible with base metal, which of the following statements is true. This is the statement. The concern is the contamination of stainless steel by carbon steel, but not the reverse. In other words, you can use tools like wire brushes and other things that you have used in fitting up stainless steel. You can carry those over and work on carbon steel with them, but you can't bring them back. Stainless steel can be contaminated by anything, a grinder disc, a wire brush, a wire wheel, anything that you've ever used on carbon. You can't bring it to stainless, but you can bring stainless to carbon. So this last line, concern is the contamination of stainless steel by carbon, but not the reverse. That's what you need to remember. So this one's going to have some kind of tricky play on words. Just remember that. You can bring it over, but you can't bring it back. Straight edges, we know what those are. We use them in the lab. The speed squares, things that we use to make straight lines, perfect 90s. Be careful not to apply heat to them. You can warp them and cut them and damage them. If they are damaged beyond repair, you got to throw them away. You don't want to keep an unstraight edge in your shop or lab. Squares, you know what those are. We use them in the lab. 2 types are the pipe fitter square and combination squares. We've got both of those in the lab. The combination square is the one that's got the little adjustable ruler that slides back and forth, and it's got all these different angles that you can use to make a 45 or a 90 measurement. And a combination square is just like a carpenter square. Let's see what the next question is. The V-shaped head attachment of a combination square can be used to what? The answer is locate the center of shafts or other round objects. This is the V-shaped center head right here. The V-shaped center head is used to measure round stock and to locate the center of shafts or other round objects. Going down here to levels, we've got several. We got the long ones, which are better for more accuracy. The short ones are good for magnetic. They can stick on things, but the longer the better. Most levels designed for plate and pipe work are made from magnesium or aluminum. Most levels designed for plate and piping are made from what? Magnesium or aluminum. Some have magnet bases. Levels are used to check whether things are horizontal and plumb. Plumb is the vertical, horizontal is the side to side. Levels use a bubble in a glass vial to check level and plumb. Most levels designed for plate and pipe are made from magnesium and aluminum. The levels that use a bubble in a glass vial to check level and plumb use the tool that uses a bubble in a glass is called a level. It's called a level. That's the answer to that one. All right, next question. Internal misalignment between two sections of pipe to be welded end to end is checked using a what? Here we go. High-low gauges. High-low gauge is to check for pipe joint misalignment. To check for internal misalignment of a pipe, use a high-low gauge. So internal misalignment between two sections of pipe to be welded end to end is checked using a high-low gauge. And there's how you do it. You can see right here, you can put this in here, and one's low, one side. So you look down here, it's got an internal misalignment. High-low gauge. It's like a knife edge. You stick it in the joint, and then you turn it, and you measure, and then you twist it again, you pull it out. Angle finder. There might be an angle finder and level closer to you than you might think. The next time you need one, the answer is reach instead for your mobile phone. Mobile phones have, and you can read in here on how to get to that app. iPhones and Androids all have level apps inside them. And this is more information here on fit-ups, socket welds. This is the socket fitting. You put this in here and it holds it. It holds the fit-up, so there's no high-low. It's basically like a jig. Common welding positioning equipment. You've got hydraulic jacks, chain falls, and come-alongs. We have all of these in the lab. Hydraulic jacks, you know what those are. Chain falls, that's what our chain hoist is on our crane. And come-alongs, that's that big orange thing that hangs on the side leg of the crane. You have to monitor jacks for oil leaks, hydraulic jacks, because oil can be a fire hazard. Oil in the area to be welded can create weld defects. Oil getting in your metal is why we grind off the mill scale, get rid of the oil. It creates porosity. And here we go. Chain hoist, they're also called chain falls. Chain hoist, chain fall, same thing. It says always secure it to a structural overhead member. In other words, you don't hang a chain hoist on a air conditioning vent or something that can't hold the weight. You have to secure the chain hoist with an approved sling wrapped around a structural member. Here's a picture down here. If you're working on a job and if you're trying to raise a piece of pipe with a chain hoist, recognize this. This is the sling right here. You're going to hook this sling around something that can hold the weight. So they say generally you want to use a structural member, a piece of the building like an I-beam or something that's not going to come falling down as soon as you put weight on it. So there you have that right there. When using a chain fall to lift or lower weld parts, always secure the chain fall to an overhead structural member with an approved sling. Here it is. Here's your sling. Turn the page. When you lift, do not use devices for vertical lifting if they have a feature allowing for free fall or free release. In other words, they need to have a brake. Think about our garage door on the shop. When you let it go, it falls down. There's no brake. Then you go over to the gantry crane, that chain hoist, it can have something hanging on it and it won't fall. It has a brake. So when lifting components into place to prepare for welding, vertical lifts should not be conducted using a come-along because a come-along doesn't have a brake. So that's the answer to that one. Do not use devices for vertical lifting if they feature a free fall. Come-alongs feature free fall. Here we go. Come-alongs can have chains or cables. Property damage from free falling. So don't use a come-along to do a vertical lift. The most common method of holding a joint in place after it has been fit up is to tack it. It works well for small welds and joints that are straight. The most common method of holding a small straight joint in place after it's been fitted is to tack weld. Question 11. The most common tool for larger plate or thick joint fit up are strong backs, clips, yokes, and wedges. They are usually what? Strong backs are typically made on the job site. So these are usually made on the job site. You don't really buy them. You make them. You make what you need. Take a piece of metal, create a strong back. You tack it here. You tack it here. It's going to keep your plate from warping. After you finish welding, you leave a notch for the weld right there. After you finish getting it welded and it cools and it doesn't warp, you grind this off like it was never there. And you're done. Clips, yokes, and wedges are also made on the job site. If the joint needs to be forced into alignment, yokes and wedges or bolts can be used. There's a good picture that indicates how a wedge and a yoke and a plate is used. Drive this wedge in, it pulls one plate up. The gap plate can be changed using specified root opening. The gap plate can be changed to match the specified root opening. Using a plate alignment tool, the gap plate between two plates can be changed to match the specified root opening. Pipe, flange, and fit up. It says, although many tools are often field fabricated, which of these should never be fabricated? It's a jack stand. You never want to build your own jack stand. If y'all remember, we had a homemade jack stand pass through the shop a while back I found, and I threw it out for scrap because of this exact reason. Jack stands and roller assemblies should not be field fabricated because they carry too much weight, and because you're standing right next to them and using them so much, anything that's homemade is just too dangerous. Always buy a commercial jack stand. Field fabricated jack stands and rollers can fail and cause death. Think about how much a 10 or 12 or 14 inch pipe weighs. You just don't want that on a homemade rig. You got to be smart. Chain clamps. Several types of chain clamps can be used to provide precise fit and alignment. When using chain clamps to fit pipe, the required gap between the root face can be maintained using spacers. They have optional spacing screws or just a regular spacer. Anything from a welding rod, a coin, spacing screw, any of those things can be used as a spacer. Which type of fit-up tool is often used to fit flanges? Other pipe alignment. Let's see. We can go down here. We got cage clamps, manual clamps, locking screw, cage clamps. While cage clamps are good for laying and holding two sections of straight pipe, they're of no use when you're working on a flange. You have to use a rim clamp. So when welding flanges on the pipes, use a rim clamp. So which type of fit-up tool fits flanges? It's a rim clamp. And a simple shop-built clamp for small diameter pipe can be made with a piece of angle iron. So up here, number 16, a simple shop-built clamp can be made from angle iron to help align small diameter pipe. Pipe pullers, don't force them. And I believe that's going to be it. Last thing we're going to talk about is pipe pullers. Here's a story about a fabricated jack stand. All right, that's it. Additional resources. Most levels designed for plate piping are made from aluminum and magnesium. We've already been through all these. Clips, yokes, and wedges generally made on site. All right, everybody. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Stand tuned for section 2.